This is a U.S.-China media brief produced by the UCLA Asian American Studies Center. The U.S.-China media brief features interviews with experts and other prominent individuals involved in studying and documenting the dynamic and ever-evolving relationship between the United States of America and the People's Republic of China. I'm Russell Leong, Director of the U.S.-China Media Brief of the UCLA Asian American Studies Center. Our purpose is to provide a more balanced view of U.S.-China relations for the U.S. media through our media brief and website. Let me just start the question. So given the nature of this fast as fire journalism and so forth, and how to make corrections, what is the nature of an academic center like yours located at Xiguang University? I mean, how do you position yourself in terms of?
I feel very fortunate to launch the center 10 years ago, when I came back as a Schoenstein Center fellow at Harvard in 1999 to launch the Tsinghua International Journalism Program. Why I call myself it's fortunate, because China is at the transitional period. I mean the journalism press, so it is in the crossroad. Which is the next step it is going to take, and China need a think tank, and need a group of thinkers, and to find the correct way for the nation, for the government, for the press, to choose the correct way for its journalism press. And since I launched the International Journalism Program here 10 years ago, I've been running several programs. One just I mentioned, like training journalists, professional journalists, how to write and report truthfully and ethically. And ethic is very important, and otherwise people will constantly go through crisis. And then I also running a very big program, training the government official at the national level, state council level, cabinet level, and also at the local government level, telling them how the international press is running, and what free press mean, and how people internationally, how international press look at the Tibetan issue, Dalai Lama issue, the Xinjiang crisis, and how they look at the communist government, how they look at the Chinese social problem. And so they have a truthful picture presented by the international media or Western media. And in the past, the Chinese government normally doesn't see this picture very clearly. They have a propaganda system, and it's always the propaganda department dealing with this issue. Now we have this global media literacy program I've been running, so they become more open-minded, and through our training program of government spokesperson, and particularly since the end of SARS in 2003, and most Chinese government have appointed a local or central government appointed a spokesperson who is required to talk to journalists in time of crisis or breaking news. And but before we ran this program, most Chinese government locally or nationally didn't have a spokesperson. So in time of crisis, the government just keeps silence, only with the Ministry of the Foreign Ministry or the propaganda department talk. No one else talk. But now everyone talk. But the problem is that it's in everyone talk, and if they have this capability or to speak truthfully, I mean correctly, and not being quoted out of context, and not make mistake by by saying some wrong word, because they are not most of the government spokesperson, almost all the Chinese spokesperson were not journalists at all. In the United States, almost all the American government journalists, spokesperson, most of them at least, were former journalists. But in China, the government spokesperson never work as journalists, so they don't know how to handle news story and how to handle journalists. That's why we've been carrying out the program of training government spokespersons.
Now, do you think that is there such a thing as sort of what you would consider international journalistic or media standards, or how do you actually reconcile, say, the national interests of a country, whether it's China or the U.S., with sort of being so-called objective, or is there such a thing?
Okay. There was a national standard of journalism, but not an international standard of journalism. In the United States, when American media reported the American stories, domestic, they have a national standard. But when they reported what happened in Cuba, in China, in Nicaragua, in Israel, in Pakistan, they will have a different standard, because internationally most journalists would support their government, or at least will support their country. Their country, if they don't support particularly a Republican or Democratic Party, they would support the American army. They would support the American national security and national defense. And there are different standards. One is national standard and international standard. But now the Chinese journalists are very much confused. They were always talking about it. They are using American national standard to report international stories like Afghanistan and Iraq. Then that's like about Afghanistan. Afghanistan is not very far away from China. It's China's closest neighbor. Whatever happened in Afghanistan will have consequence on China. It's just next door to Xinjiang. So China must have a different standard. One is national standard. National standard, China should everyone could use for national standard of journalism. Everyone can have the same, like supervising of the government and a free press. But for international standard, America has a standard, has its standard in making judgment of Afghan war. China should have its own standard in making judgment of Afghan war or Pakistan. Because Pakistan is like a North Korea issue, but it's all affect China's national security and the national defense.
No, I think that's an interesting way to divide it. So on domestic national issues, each country should adhere to certain type of standards. But since international issues usually affect strategic and military national security, then obviously countries are going to try to do what is best for their own national security and national interests, whether it's the U.S. or China. I mean, the way the U.S. reports about Afghanistan and Iraq is one way, and the way China reports, of course, is another way, because they're geographically even geopolitics. The preceding copyrighted program is a property of the University of California, Los Angeles. All rights reserved. It may be used freely for educational and not-for-profit activities. For other uses or to make an inquiry, please contact the Asian American Studies Center at UCLA.